Morning. Good night. It's good to see everyone this morning. We're looking forward to a good class here in just a few minutes. Doug will be continuing our study in 1 Samuel. Don't really have any updates. If you pick up the bulletin, well, be sure to check that information. Continue to remember everybody in your prayers, and we be whatever service that we possibly can be. Anybody else that I may not be aware of? I notice Ken's not here with us this morning, so we want to remember him. Let's bow as we begin. Lord God, thank you so much for this opportunity to be in your presence, this opportunity to open your word, this opportunity to be able to listen to you, Father. And we pray that you will open our hearts and our minds that we might always be receptive to your truth. Help us to always be understanding of that truth, and help us to have the strength to make the application to our lives. Just continue to be with us throughout this class time. Be with us, Father, as we worship you in a few moments. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Okay, Doug.
Good morning. I continue along with David here. And turn my phone off. Heard it ping a while ago. Last time we were in here, David was being cheered as killing his 10,000s, and Saul was only killing thousands, and Saul's kind of upset because he's the king. So it's not working out good for him. And he keeps wanting to cause David harm. And there's several things, though. David's best friend is Saul's son Jonathan, so there's an issue. And we're fixing to find out that coming up, Saul's going to go, hey, why don't I just give my daughter to David in marriage? Why not just do that? That way he'll be preoccupied with marriage, and he won't be thinking out on the battlefield, and maybe the end will come to him, that kind of thing. So some of that's going on, and Saul's just not real happy. And remember, all the blessings that Saul had, the Lord no longer was with him. He no longer has the Spirit of the Lord in him. So the ugliness is moving in on Saul. And some of that ugliness is coming out in him wanting to have David removed from this world. Well, that's not real good. And that's a bad thing for Saul. And it's a real bad thing for David because he's fixing to have to take off. Okay, as we know, that's coming. Okay, all of us have read these stories before, and we know that David's fixing to have to leave. And the problem is that when he leaves, mom and dad, he's not going to be around mom and dad. He's not going to be around his best friend Jonathan. He's not going to be around all the people that he's been with all this time. And we haven't got to it yet, but he's going to have a wife here pretty soon. So all of that's going to go away while he's out on the run. So it's not good for David, but it's a trying time that he's going to have to go through. We are in chapter 18, and we read through verse 16 last week, and I was kind of hitting on some of that, and I was kind of reading into chapter 18 and 19 also. But we'll pick up at verse 17 of chapter 18, and we'll read some of that, and we'll talk it for a little bit. I'm going to read one paragraph here. Then Saul said to David, "Here is my elder daughter Merab. I will give her to you for a wife. Only be valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles." For Saul thought, "Let not my hand be against him, but let the hand of the Philistines be against him." And David said to Saul, "Who am I, and who are my relatives, my father's clan in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king?" But at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should be given to David, she was given to Adriel the Maholathite for a wife. So, man, Saul's pretty ugly, isn't he? And I'm going to give you my daughter. And I'm only going to give you my daughter because maybe that'll distract you and you could go die at battle. But I want you to keep going out in battle. Okay, keep going out and doing the Lord's work. I mean, Saul's got to know how many times has he sent David out already. And how far up has David risen? He's up there. He's one of the top commanders now. And he keeps going out. And remember back then, the top commanders were in the front. They weren't in the back. They were in the front. They were up there fighting. They were leading the charges. So he's got to know the Lord's on his side. He needs to figure that out because it isn't going to happen. Then he takes and gives his daughter to somebody else. What is her world about now? Fixing to go this way and now I'm going that way? It may have worked out for her because it probably wasn't going to be good to be married to David because we're going to find that out about Michael down the road, right? Not going to be good for her to be married to David. So it might have been a blessing for Merib. Okay, it might have been. I don't know that. Might have been. The Bible doesn't say or anything. I'm just kind of thinking that because of what David had done with Michael when she got put away and never got to have a child or anything like that later on. And back in those days, having a child was the most important thing a lot of times. And I know it's pretty important now, but it's not the most important thing. Okay, but it's pretty important. And yeah, it's all just kind of rough. Okay, and he's getting worse. He used to be a pretty good old boy when we first started reading about him a few chapters back, right? He's a pretty good guy. Now he's just kind of just going down and down and down. Is everybody okay with Saul and what he's doing there? Any comments or questions or anything? No? All right. If I could, would somebody read the rest of the chapter from 20 on?
Saul commanded his servants to communicate with David secretly and say, look, the king has provided me with all strength love, that it will be done between the son and the Saul's servants spoke the word to the hearing David, and David said, if it seems to you a light thing to be the king's son, then I am a fool and not going to do that. The servants of Saul spoke, I don't fool and said, in this man and David spoke. And Saul said, that's not saying that the king does not desire any power, but one of them is pushed. Saul thought to make David fall in the hand of the Philistines. So when his servants told David these words, to please David well from the king's name, my days are not his power. So David arose and went to the king of his men, and killed 200 men of the Philistines, David's life. But it only came to them 8 men, and the count of the king of the act of the And Saul gave them life to the daughter of life. Thus Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David and Michael. Saul was afraid of him. When the princes of the Philistines went out to war, and killed one, and never ruled out David. All the servants
All right, so, okay, Saul messed up the first time. Let's try this again. Go with Michael this time. Michael really wants to be with David. So maybe he'll be all caught up with Michael and thinking about marriage and all of that stuff that you have with a wife and not thinking about fighting. And he'll get distracted and the Philistines will kill him. Or they'll kill him before he ever gets to be married because he's going out and do this. Not to be gross or anything, but couldn't we have 100 ears or something like that? Something, ear or, something easier, Yes, ma'am. It happens. It comes back and visits him, doesn't it? Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, it's not good. And yeah, and they keep doing it. No, No, and it sounds like David went after them for these foreskins, 100 of them. But then a little bit further down, they keep fighting, right? And yeah, David, I can go out and just kill several hundred of you guys, no big deal. Why do you want to keep fighting me? It is amazing there. But remember, there's always a dowry back then, right? Every time you married, the husband gave the father of the bride whatever, property of some sort, or did something for them, stuff like that, and that's what this is. But notice David has said twice now, I'm not royalty. My family's not big and rich. Why am I supposed to be somebody that becomes a king's daughter? Just a plain old guy. And as of right now, David kind of is a plain old guy, although the Lord has anointed him, and he's going to be a king, and he's going to be a pretty good one. Excuse me. But he said it's not something you just jump into. You just don't marry a king's daughter all the time. And he's right, you don't. Yes, sir.
Samuel went to him, talked to him, told him to get God, and for him. It's not like he's in the dark. My God, and so now he sees David right. And Samuel's already told him, God's taking away from you and giving it to him. You messed up.
Yeah.
So he knows what's going on. He's fully aware of it. And yet, what is he doing but trying to kill what he knows is God's favor?
Right.
And it doesn't seem to fear God, doesn't seem to have a problem with that. He plots, as we're going to see. He's plotting. Premeditated, thinking, all right, when this happens, I'll get it.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. And no matter how much he plots, he's not getting them, is he? It just keeps falling apart on him. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, but he didn't win a daughter. Remember, he didn't. Right? He didn't win the daughter like you were talking about. He was promised a daughter back when he killed Goliath, right? Yeah. Then he promised again, then he unpromised it, and now he's promising it again. Yeah. So we're on the third time he's been promised a daughter. And without a dowry on the first two, but on this one now there's a dowry. Yeah. Yeah, you got it right. It's kind of Saul's a little bit off. Okay. No. No. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't need to be any closer to this guy. He's a little off. Need to stay away. Yeah, it really hate me then. Yeah, married to a daughter. It really hate me. Back in these times, though, a lot of times when a king or a ruler was not real strong, he would marry his daughter off to somebody who was real strong and could support him a little bit. And that might be a little of it, although I doubt it, but that might be a little of it. If David's my son-in-law, that'll give me the strength here to be a better leader, to whatever I say goes. But something else that would happen, what happens if Saul's sons die and David's married to his daughter? He could be the king, right? Yeah. He's married to Saul's daughter. And what if Jonathan and, I can't ever say the other, Iba, whatever, however you say that other son, the one that's crippled, however you say his name, and a couple of other ones, there's 3 or 4 of them, and one of them lived. I don't remember how to say the name. It starts with an I. Abatasheth or something like that. Anyway, if all of them die, all the king's sons have died. Who's in line? David's in line. Does all that happen? Almost. The youngest one doesn't. The one that ended up being crippled doesn't. But David ends up being king anyway, but that doesn't happen. Okay? And it says they went out and slayed 200. And so they did. But when I go to 2 Samuel 3, In verse 4, it says this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did the same thing to him, didn't he? Yeah. Yeah, you can work, and I'll give you my daughter if you work 7 years. Then he gave him the other daughter, so he had to work 7 more for Rachel. Okay. Verse 3 and verse 4. Hang on. 2 Samuel 3, verse 14. And David sent a messenger to, there's the name, Ishbosheth, or however you say it, Saul's son, saying, give me my wife Michal, whom I paid the bride's price of 100 foreskins of the Philistines. So, paid 100. But in verse 27 that we just read, he killed 200. So he just simply mentioned in 2 Samuel 3:14, he said, hey, this is what the price was. Give me my wife back. Okay, so because when you fast forward to 2 Samuel, Saul's already dead, right? Okay, well, give me my wife back. I paid 100 foreskins for her. So he said he paid the price, but David really turned in 200. Okay, but he just simply stating, in case you get into that and you're wondering what's going on one day, I'm just stating, hey, I paid 100 for it. Although I gave Saul 200, the deal was 100. So if you ever run into that, or if somebody's trying to tell you it's wrong, not wrong. David's just telling, hey, I agreed to 100. I want my wife back for the 100 that I paid, even though David did give 200. Okay? So he was pretty excited to do that. Yeah. Yeah, and he's just repeating what Saul asked for. So if anybody ever brings that up, and there's a lot of things that come up when you talk with people about the Bible, that's another one. Okay? And so now David plays the harp. Okay, playing the harp. He's the leader of a lot of the military stuff. He's married to Saul's daughter, Michal, and he's Jonathan's best friend. That's how he's related to Saul now. That's amazing. And Saul still wants to kill him. Okay? That's a lot of stuff. And everything he does is good. And Saul still wants to kill him because he's jealous of him. Jealous of what's going on there. You know? And over a lot of people right now. Yeah, over a lot of people right now. Now, and the Philistines keep coming, and David keeps killing a bunch of them. Hey, every time they go out to war with them, David's killing a bunch of them. Sounds like all of them, all the leaders of Israel are having success, but it sounds like David's having even more than all the rest of them. So everybody's having success, but David's really having success. I mean, it's like he's probably not even losing any men or anything. He's doing so well. So David's doing a great job. Everybody's excited for David except for Saul. He's the only one not excited for David. He's wanting David to die in battle. David's just been more and more successful. So it's been a pretty big struggle there. Is there anything else you saw in there you'd like to visit on? Okay, so David's married, got a wife, everything's great, right? All right, let's go to chapter 19 then. Everything's pretty good, but let's move on. Saul gets to be evil again here pretty quick. Somebody read 1 through 10 from chapter 19, 1 through 10.
His son and all the servants put David to death. Jonathan, Saul's son, greatly delighted David. Jonathan told David, saying, Saul, my father, is seeking to put you to death. Now therefore flee and guard in the home, and stay in a secret place and hide yourself. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field, where you are, and I will speak with my father about you. If I find out anything, I shall tell him. Then Jonathan spoke well of David, Saul his father, and said to him, do not let the king sin against his servant David, since he has not sinned against you, and since his deeds have been very beneficial to you. For he took his life in his hand and struck the Philistines. And the Lord brought about a great deliverance for all Israel. You saw it and rejoiced. Why then will you sin against innocent blood by putting David to death without a cause? And Saul listened to the voice of Jonathan and Saul vowed, as the Lord lives, he shall not be put to death. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan told him all these words. Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as formerly. When there was war again, David went out and fought the Philistines, and defeated them with great slaughter, so that they fled before him. Now there was an evil spirit from the Lord on Saul, as he was sitting in his house with his spear in his hand, and David was playing the harp with his hand. And Saul tried to pin David to the wall with the spear, but he slipped away out of Saul's presence, so that he struck the spear into the wall, and David fled and escaped that night.
I don't know how much time is in between chapter 18 and 19, but it didn't take long probably for Saul to change his mind again. Just giving him a daughter. David's his son-in-law now. Okay, let's go kill David. I'm send all my servants out. If they can't do it, then I'm going to do it. Okay? Oh, man. I think David knew. He was always prepared each time Saul tried to spear him, so he kind of knew. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you got to wonder about the people around and his servants, what they were thinking. You know, this is your son-in-law, and he plays the harp for you to drive away the bad depression you have, which is probably what a lot of it is, but there's a bad depression here, and anxiety and all that stuff all tied into this, and he's playing the harp trying to soothe some of that stuff, and all you want to do is kill him? The servants have to be wondering the same thing. Of course, his son is. And so the son reasons with him, right? Come on, Dad, what's going on here? He's done all these good things. You even celebrated some of the good things, and you still want to kill him? And Saul finally says, okay, you're right. And that lasted how long? Until David answered. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's over and over, isn't it? Yeah. Backs off, then he gets on him again. Backs off, he gets on him again. Oh, constant. And then finally Jonathan intercedes in there and says, hey, you need to watch out. But then, yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. It is taking him over, and it is not good. And so, looks like Jonathan got it all worked out, right? Nope. Okay, as soon as it's all worked out, David's in there, he's back doing what he does. Nope. Now he's trying to pin him to the wall with a spear again. This second time, right? First time was a chapter back or two. Now he did it again. Man, not good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how close that spear got, huh? Yeah. Good thing David's still in his 20s and he can move around a little bit. Saul's probably, 30 years older, so he probably don't move as fast, but good thing David's young and can move around. That is, let's read just a little bit more here and see a little bit more of it. If somebody would read the next paragraph, which is 11 through 17, we'll talk about that little piece.
You do not take the black night far from here. So Michael, let's lay it down to the water. He fled away to escape. Michael took an image, laid it in the bed, put a fellow goat hair and head, and throw it into the clothes. And when Saul sent messengers to take him, he said he was sick. Then Saul sent messengers to see David, saying, bring him up to me in the bed, that I may kill him. When the messengers came in, behold, the image was in the bed, with a fellow goat hair at his head. Saul said to Michael, why have you deceived us that my hand is old, but he has escaped? Michael answered Saul and said to me, that we go, why should I kill him?
Yeah. Saul's daughter's against him and his son's against him. Okay, you'd think Saul would wake up. Not happening. Okay, it's still bad. Yes, sir.
I formed a life creation darkness. I need you and create for that. I shall be all these things. So that tells you, and also good that it was just spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So we took it gravity upon ourselves.
Yes. Yes. And that's all in Saul's mind, and it's just continually running here. And he hates David, and he's got envy and jealousy, as stated a while ago. Right, right. Yeah. Right, so when everything good left Saul, all the bad moved in, right? All the petty jealousies that humans have, they're all in Saul right now. All in him. Not good. Not good at all. And Michael sees it, Jonathan sees it, but Dad doesn't see it. So it's a pretty big issue. It got to the point, bring him in his bed to me so I can kill him. What do the servants got to be thinking? What did David do? They got to be thinking that, right? All he ever does is go out and kill all your enemies for you. He's married to your daughter. He's your son's best friend. Why do you want to do this? But being servants at that time, you pretty much had to do what you were told to do, right? Because if not, then maybe you were the one fixing to get executed because you didn't go do your job. So, right. But right, but he does have an ex-angel that is evil, and Satan. Satan was with the Lord originally. Yeah. Right, right. Satan became evil on his own. Yeah. And got removed from heaven. And he's been loosed on the earth and has been for a long time. One day he'll be gone. We don't have to worry about him anymore. But right now we still have to deal with him all the time.
For whatever reason, there was a rebellion which those that were like and be able. Now that is about three children.
Right.
All that creation is in it. So every one has a choice, including the spirit of law, which is tormenting him. It's not tormenting David. It's not tormenting you, may Paul.
Yeah.
It's not tormenting others, but it's tormenting him to the point that it's really. So nobody, we're not saying that God made something evil, but in the course of free will and choice, things can become evil. And they make that choice. We're seeing right now that playing out.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's a choice.
Yes.
He's even got people coming to him saying, what are you doing? He's not doing this for you. Why are you the king free? They're asking him, why are you doing this for? And I'm not even sure it's normal, but jealous, like with envy, with strife, and the spirit is playing out the inner, causing these things to get out of him. But still has the will right now to do the rest.
And have you seen TV shows where they put pillows underneath and they say, oh, they're in bed sleeping? I've seen TV shows where they do that too. I wonder if they got it from there. Yeah. Be around, yeah. Yeah, the other, couple of the other ones that I was reading out of said idle. Yeah. Seraphim? Right. Yeah. Well, it was in Michael, well, I guess, I don't know. Yeah. But mine says image, but some of them do say idol. So I don't know exactly what it is, but some do say both of those. Hey, whatever, it was some object she put in bed. I guess it could look like a person laying there. I don't know. And so she's helping him now. And Saul gets on her, right? What are you doing? Let my enemy go. And she's probably sitting there going. Now, my question is, if Saul wanted to kill him, why didn't he kill him the night before? Right? Wanting to kill him, why didn't he just go in at nighttime? Yes. Yes. He is. But you just got to wonder, if you want him that bad, it's nighttime. Go get him. Right? I mean, you know where he is. He's in his house. Go get him. Didn't happen. So it's kind of weird. My take on it maybe also, Saul may not have wanted to, because who else might get killed in something like that? His daughter might get killed too. If they go in at nighttime when it's dark, his daughter might get killed along with David in there. Although we know that's not going to happen, Saul doesn't know that. I mean, the daughter could have died and David could have got away. That is a possibility. Okay, but she fixed it. She just said, hey, let's go. And it was funny what she told her dad. Why should I kill you? He said to me, let me go. Why should I kill you? A little bit weird, isn't it? Now, who is the, why should I kill you? Who is the you? Or what translation do y'all have? Mine says you. Why should I kill you? Okay. And that's one of the thoughts I had. Yes, ma'am? Yeah. 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 It could have been that too. Yeah. Or could it have been, Second Samuel 2:22? And Abner said again to Asahel, turn aside from following me. Why should I strike you to the ground? How then could I lift up my face to your brother Joab? 2:22? Yeah.
It seems to be some kind of a barn. But I don't know.
Well, it was just weird. But my one thought was Michael, but my other thought was maybe David said he didn't want to kill Saul when Saul came after him. I mean, that's kind of the two thoughts. But then I heard the other thought, I'm going to kill you if you don't help me get out of here. But then the other thought, she was just telling Saul, David threatened to kill me, so I helped him. Yeah.
Yes, I'll leave.
There.
Confronted her, came up with the best excuse you have.
Right.
Well, if I didn't do it,
Kill me.
they would do that too.
Right. That's probably the best one right there. Yes. True. But that's probably the best way to take that. I wasn't real sure. I'd had several different ideas. I didn't have that idea. Glad you brought it out. But that's probably good. And I keep thinking one of these days David's going to have to kill Saul, or he's going to die because of Saul. Although we know the story later, but you keep thinking that. And eventually David's going to have to turn and kill him because he keeps coming after him. Right? And anything else on that paragraph there? I don't imagine David's sick very often either. You know, so Saul should have saw through that too, huh? David not very sick very often, I wouldn't think. The Lord's is with David. I bet he's not sick at all. Not when the Lord's with you. When the Spirit of the Lord's in you, I wouldn't think so. Hey, we got one paragraph left in chapter 19, and we got about 5 minutes, so we'll read that one paragraph and talk about it. Some of y'all already commented on a little bit in there, so if somebody will read verse 18 to the end, we'll talk about that section. Just amazing. Now he's got to go after Samuel and David. He knows how much power Samuel has, and he knows Samuel is only about the Lord, and he's going to go to Samuel to get David to kill him. Just, you'd think it would end, but it's not going to. But you would just think, come on, you're going to Samuel now to get David? And you know what Samuel can do? Samuel could make you go away right now if he wanted to. All he got to do is call on the Lord, and you could disappear, Saul. Because you've seen it. You've seen what Samuel can do. Okay? Remember when Samuel went? No? Yeah. 3 times. Yeah. Yeah. Can't figure it out, can he? No, it's just amazing to me. No. Yeah. Right. It's amazing, isn't it? I just, come on, Saul, wake up a little bit. But when you have that much envy and that much jealousy for somebody, you don't care. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's not. No. Just amazed at what's leading him to want to do this. I mean, he's just driven. He's a driven man to go with one thing. I'm gonna wipe out David. One thing. But it's pretty neat that David went to Samuel. I mean, even David knows a place to go. Go to Samuel. Samuel will know what to do. He'll take care of me. He'll talk to the Lord, and he'll tell me exactly what to do. And so he went to Samuel. And I was kind of wondering why he didn't go to Samuel sooner, because Samuel anointed him, told him he was going to be the king one day, told him he was the Lord's king. So I was surprised he waited this long to go to Samuel. And he may have, we don't know, it's just not in the Bible. He may have sought counsel with Samuel earlier. I have no idea. But at least he's gone to Samuel now, right? Which is pretty good. He's thinking, and he's asking for advice and that, and seeking shelter. And from about this point on, David's not going back anymore. He won't be back. He won't be with Michal anymore. He won't be around Jonathan anymore, other than just that sneak visit that they have a couple of times where Jonathan tells him, yeah, you need to leave. Hey, we got that coming up. But he won't be around any of these folks anymore. He's fixing to be outcast. And that, so when he leaves Samuel's, he's fixing to be an outcast, and that's not going to be good. He's going to be an outlaw. Well, why is David an outlaw? Because he's against the government, right? He's against Saul and the government, so he's an outlaw. That's what Saul's telling everybody. I want David dead. So he's fixing to be an outlaw. And it's bad. Now, David's going to hide from his best friend's dad for a long time, right? What happens at near the end of David's reign? Who's David hiding from? His son. Same type thing, right? David's on the move, hiding from his son at near the end of his reign. Okay. Absalom. Remember, when Absalom dies, okay, because the leader of David's military ends it because he kills him. So David's running from his best friend's dad. Later, he's going to be running from his son. Okay. Why? Well, there's sin. Okay. And David knows it, and obviously, Saul is not aware of it, or should be, but he's not. But David's fully aware every time he sins what happens in David's life. There's some issues, right? The Lord is punishing him because David knows, and David understands the Lord, and he's got the heart like the Lord wants. Did that help him not mess up? Okay, even if you have the Lord's heart, you still mess up because we're human beings. David still messed up. Okay? He still has things in him just like all of us. He still has wants and desires just like all of us do. And he let it get to him a few times down the road, and the Lord punished him for it. Punished him severely, and sometimes punished Israel severely at some points. Okay, so you'd think maybe he'd have known that, but he didn't. Okay? He was just as human as the rest of us. And then, like you're saying, 3 times, right? Let's send people over there 3 times, and it's like, not going to happen. Okay. Yeah.
And it would make a major impression.
Yeah. No. And there had to be people seeing this, right? I mean, the king doesn't travel by himself, right? So what's all his servants doing? They all standing around going, hey, Saul, come on, guy. That had to be a weird sight for all his servants, and they're probably not used to that. Yeah, it had to be a sight too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of these things happen later to David. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, and I don't know. Pretty soon Saul won't be around any longer. We don't have to talk about him and run him down and everything, and See that he's very nearsighted, okay, because he can't see what's happening down the road, I guess. He does fully understand, though, if David doesn't go away, his son will never be king. He fully understands that. And he will tell his son that later. He fully understands that. And Jonathan's going to come around to understanding it too, pretty soon. Yeah. 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 Should. But he still wants his son to be king. He still wants that. And remember, Saul was a good boy back, I don't know, 20 years ago, whatever it was, however long we've been studying here, all those years. He was a good guy. He did good things. The Bible said good stuff about him. You know, I guess power and greed and all that stuff kind of gets to anybody.
And we just can't get through that. It ain't just a real sense. What you're trying to say. Doing that. I'm being defeated everywhere I turn. Maybe the Lord might be. But that never brought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too far gone, isn't he? All right, well, that's through chapter 19. We'll pick up on chapter 20 next Sunday, if Lord will allow us to do so.